meeting for anyone that was unable to join us. I see Chef Reese also joined in as well. So at this point, if I could entertain a motion to begin the meeting, I will unmute you. I cannot unmute you all.
Motion to begin the meeting.
I second it. Oh, I can't.
I heard a first from Herons and a second then Chef Blake. Okay, we'll go ahead and get that meeting started then, and we'll start with our pledge. Hopefully you can all see me at this point, but if you cannot, know that I am holding up the flag. Hopefully you can all see. If you could all join me, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chef Geip, are you still able to join us with the prayer? I'm going to assume not. Okay. Would anyone else care to say our prayer here tonight?
I don't know.
Unfortunately, I can't unmute you, Chef, and I know you are. That is definitely your role there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and continue on with the meeting then. I do have our agenda here that I can share with you all. Hopefully you can all see my screen here. Our first line of business is going to be our May meeting, our mise en place notes. Hopefully you've all gotten a chance to view it. I have sent it via email. I have posted it on our website. Again, I would like to stop share and unmute. Well, I cannot unmute you all, but I would like you to unmute yourselves so that everybody can participate in this part of the conversation here. So please take a few minutes and do that while I go back to sharing my screen here and showing you the mise en place. I tried to kind of tempt everybody in reading it. The first time I sent it out, I didn't hear anything back, which I figured was just, you know, the idea that there was that newsletter. And then the second time I sent it was because check out our brand new section. We decided, and actually this was one of Faith's initiatives as a student outreach committee chair. She wanted to start a student spotlight. I know Doogie had mentioned that a few months back as well. She didn't think she would be, you know, spotlighting herself as the first one, and I spotlighted her. I thought with the Student of the Year competition and all of this new engagement and roles and responsibilities with that, there should be a great first one. Something not written on here for all of you that weren't here in the beginning. Her birthday is June 15th, which was not written, but that happens to be today. So if you could all join me in and definitely saying happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday.
Happy
birthday.
I'd like to sing.
Thank you.
I'd like to sing, but I know Faith well enough that she will reach across the screen and smack me. So I just wanted to celebrate her at least in that, which worked out very nicely in having this student spotlight for her here. So hopefully you've seen this. Faith has some things she'd like to do in the future. She had talked about, you know, actually putting out a questionnaire. We're going to be looking for different students, not necessarily asking which student this month, but let's get a bank of them so that we can roll out. And even if we have too many, we put 2 or 3 in here, you know, for each mise en place. Just a way for us to get to know our chapter members and starting with our students, which I thought was really, really an awesome initiative here.
Nice idea.
Absolutely. Our meeting locations are still here. You'll notice the July meeting was added. That's because the ACF National Conference was going to be, or convention was going to be that during the time frame. However, now that it is not, I feel we can still have a meeting and we can still include an education, and we'll look for Anna to update us on that here in just a little bit. So you'll see that you have this here, and then again, the minutes. I've also included the PowerPoint and education from Shanna, a lot of different links for you that we have discussed. Again, going through the entire mise en place, there's a lot of good information on here as well. Is there any discussion to be had for the mise en place for May?
Well done,
Notice-
Autumn. Well done.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
will echo that.
It's amazing.
Looks very good, Autumn.
Did
Thank you.
Barry, did you get a copy of it?
I saw it.
Okay.
Ooh,
Yeah, I got it.
but-
I can get on and get it.
But hey, let me
Thank you.
show, just in case not, When you go onto the internet, our Harrisburg site, our Harrisburg website page, there is at the top news, you go to newsletters 2020, and you'll see that that has every single mise en place, all of the attached agendas, recordings, as well as any extra information that we have provided or sent out for it.
Amazing. Thank you.
With
Amazing.
themes. Little things, I'm making little steps. Okay,
I want to entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
thank you.
Second,
Second, please.
second, Harris.
Thank you. Motion is to approve the minutes as written. All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by saying nay? All right, we'll go ahead and approve the minutes as written. Next, I have the treasurer's report to share with you. Again, I'm going to bring it up on the screen. I feel this is a lot of numbers to just pipe out so that you can see it. Our total balance, let me just, as a summary, changes other than 44 cents interest, which is 2 cents more than last month. Woohoo! So we're looking at, that's a very quick summary for you. So we have our total balance of $9,278.90. Checking account is $2,532.98 with no changes. Savings account with that 44 cents interest bumps us up to $6,745.92. Again, why I'm displaying it for you as well. I did want to note as well as part of my treasurer's report that the insurance bill was received just today. It is for a total of $600 due July 1st. And as discussed last year, I will pay that and send the invoice also to Heidi to reimburse us for it from the Pennsylvania Restaurant and Lodging Association.
Awesome. Motion to approve the minutes as written.
That was a motion by Peffley.
Second,
Was that Joe?
John Reese.
Oh, sorry. Okay, all those in favor in approving the minute or the treasurer's report as written, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion will carry. All right, at this point now, I'm going to go ahead and mute you all. I'm going to go into my president's message here with some updates for you before we jump into our awesome education component from Chef Long. I did attend quite a few webinars, quite a few panel discussions and conference calls, as I'm sure a lot of you have, and I'm sure a lot of you have taken advantage of what is out there, which is great. One of those resources, Michael Harris has mentioned many times, which is Cafe. And on that, I have they sent an email out with the first 20 people to respond would get a free poster from Mercer Knives. So behind me, just a pretty good example of, a simple email. You better believe I jumped on that right away, and they sent me 3 different posters. These knives are beautiful with all the different cuts on it. And on the other side here, it has all of your classic cuts. Well, at least 9 of them here. It's a great resource. And that was just something, again, a connection, a mention from Michael. It's checking out this site and getting on an email list. And we're able to get a lot more resources. So thank you, Michael, for that. That was definitely a great link. Just today, actually, I should say on Thursday, the Hack College, or my college here, Hack, announced that the college would be closed, the campuses would be closed through December 31st. It is all over ABC 27 News, all over our website, everywhere. The key line that no one is focusing on that I want all of you to hear is it is closed with the exception of hands-on lab classes, which means our lab components will still meet and still be held on campus as is. It will look totally different. I'll be honest, I am not necessarily excited how it's going to be looking, but in about 3 to 4 weeks, I'm going to be back on campus with our students from the spring. We are going to complete all of our lab classes as we were going to in the spring, and then we'll move forward in the fall with classes being more of a hybrid to where we will meet for just the lab components and still deliver lesson content online. That is at Hack. Any other face-to-face class that can be remote, which means teaching via Zoom at the same time, or it will be moved to a virtual class, meaning that it will be completely online. So, that was an announcement made on Thursday, and today I joined the Pennsylvania Restaurant and Lodging Association, the Education Foundation, with Hope Sterner and a lot of educators. And I got a lot of insight as to what other schools are doing. And And some of them I was really disappointed to hear they canceled all of their online classes in the fall. They are moving all students into Gen Ed. They do not want to do this again. They don't want to go through this again, but it almost sounded as though they didn't necessarily get full-fledged into it too. They were trying to pass by. And for me, this is your one and only shot in Culinary 1. This is your one and only shot in Culinary 2. There is no just getting by. But Penn State is opening up as normal. Their Thanksgiving break, all students then will go remote from that point on, not returning to campus. Westmoreland Community College didn't hear back yet. Northampton Community College, I mentioned, you know, they're not offering any hands-on classes. Pennsylvania College of Technology, they're returning in the fall. They're gonna have kind of a volunteer refresher week. Here's how things are going. But man, did they seem, forgive me to be blunt, but scared that this was gonna go, because it seemed as though the college has you know, dedicated to going on for the semester. And a lot of people are concerned about a second wave and how long students are in lab classes and what those conditions are like and things like that. But at least I was able to hear the connection of, you know, manuals being put together. Let's join a lot of serve-safe information now with what's going on. Instead of all these different trainings, can we put it together in a document? It sounds like we have a lot of great resources coming our way. I also was really excited that out of the 16 people on the call, I think it was 7 of them have used our resources on our website page, our educational resources. And, you know, when it was brought up and, oh, I grabbed this and I grabbed that, it was as though we were the hottest thing. And I was so proud to be a part of that call and to represent us. So thank you all. And again, thank you, Anna. You know, I was asked, how do you get all of these? How have you sourced them all? How have you? I said, I have people, man, and they're really good people. So thank you, Anna, and thank you everyone that's been making the videos and really sharing that. We really were spotlighted pretty well there. So another thing is the Northeast Regional Conference call. I know Chef Young is here with us, but I do want to update you on some other national level information. I've been sending you links, and you should be getting them in your mailbox for the ACF United webinars that have been going on. Some of these have really been fantastic, just to even hear the perspective from different people. You know, to hear that this very high-end catering business in New York lost $700,000 worth of sales in one day. You know, you can relate. You can see that it's not just happening in one area, or, you know, just to hear how everyone's coming through and pushing through. You know, there is also the ACF Chef's Table, which I was told was premiering hopefully, I want to say this week. I think June 16th through the 21st was the target date there. That is now an online community for ACF members to gather together. It's an online, let's say, social media community, but, you know, a topic of the day, a question of the day, and really just to be able to share within a group, not be filtered with all of the news media and everything else, to have an online community. So look for that to launch here very shortly. As far as the ACF National Convention goes, I did send out an email again specifically about registering for that. That registration is open. It is going to be August 3rd through the 5th. There are 3 different levels. One of them is a free access. The next level, I believe, is $199, and that is, I think, kind of an upgraded pass of where you can get some continuing education hours as well, and then 24 continuing education hours. And then $299 is a non-membership registration, which includes their annual membership as well. So all of that is featured. The event is around the world in 80 plates. They have some really good speakers and great programs. I believe they mentioned that only maybe 2 sessions were not filled yet. So it sounds like a really awesome thing. I went and registered right away. They are going to have a Board of Governors meeting August 6th. I did get to save the date today, but it is going to be from 12:30 to 4 o'clock on that day. I do plan to attend and have it on my calendar. I will be receiving a packet, as well as it being on the President's portal for me to view the minutes and all the information to prepare for that meeting. There will also be virtual awards, the national awards. Just as we had the regional awards, there will be a national virtual awards ceremony that'll be held on August 7th. So there has been some ballots sent out for the Herman Roosh, as well as the Chef Professionalism ballots. If you receive those, please make sure that you do participate in voting and getting your voice in. We also have Nashville still happening, Northeast Chef Connect, October 26th through the 28th at this point. And then Pittsburgh is still scheduled from March 6th through 8th in 2021. So those are just some updates that I had that through the various different conferences and calls that I've had. Okay, so again, I welcome you all. I thank you all for joining us. I know we have quite the agenda here. We're going to go right into our education piece, and then I'm anxious to hear from each of you as we go throughout the evening here. So Chef Long, I know you are with us here. You should be able to, I am going to unmute you now. You should be able to go ahead and share your screen unless you would like me to do it for you.
It says it's disabled.
Oh. I just tried to end the meeting. Let me find another button. I could just share it. One participant can share at a time, multiple. Okay. You still can't share, huh? Let me go ahead. What would you like to view first?
We're going to start off with the PowerPoint.
Okay. And then I'll just go ahead and do that. That's why we had the backup.
That's exactly right.
Yep. It's how we're in education and lodging, right? And food service. Okay. Can you see that okay? I
can see it, yes.
All right.
Beautiful. All right, thank you very much. I'll just give you next slide. Don't go there yet. Okay. So, snow-filled logos. As everybody knows, I've been carving ice for a long time. I actually started when I went through my apprenticeship under Walter Schaffhauser, and it was one of the things that we learned how to do. Walter was at that point in his life the premier ice carver in the Harrisburg area, and everybody that went through the ACF apprenticeship learned how to make an ice carving. And you learned the basics, and it was up to you whether or not you decided if you wanted to do more with it and if you wanted to add it to your skill set. So I kind of embodied Walter. I wanted to be very much like him, so I was in the hotel and restaurant business for 25 years to start my career. So ice became something for me that added to my skill set that I could offer as a chef. So traditionally, when you start out with doing ice carvings, you do what's called a buffet carving. A buffet carving is something that you may put out as a centerpiece on one of your buffets or a holiday brunch that is a focal point. You may also use it for a wedding. And it's something that attracts attention, gives your buffet height, and it also can set the theme of your meal. When I first started doing them and I started pushing myself to do it, I was the chef at this Sheraton down in New Cumberland, and we started a Sunday brunch. And for 3 years, I carved ice every Saturday night, starting at about 9 o'clock at night after putting out all the weddings and functions to do the carving for Sunday brunch. And I challenged myself each Saturday night to do something different. I didn't have a lot of technique. I kind of sketched it out and carved it, and that was how I got started. And I went on that way for probably 10, 15 years. You know, I went into some ice carving competitions that the old chapter used to have, and there was a gentleman by the name of Mark Dawkins who was one of the premier ice carvers in the world, and he created a program called Ice Masters. And the Ice Masters program gave you technique on how to plan your ice three-dimensionally, and also gave you technique on how to do snow-filled logos. So it was new for me, and I remember taking the course. It was 30 of us in a freezer down in Washington, D.C., in a walk-in freezer, side by side, and the course at that time was like $1,500. That was an expensive thing. But it was probably one of the best investments I ever made in myself, because I was able to get technique. And then I started competing in NICA tournaments, and I started watching the best in the United States and some in the best in the world compete. And that's humbles you, but it makes you get better too. So that's how it all started for me. And then I started my business in 1995, which is called Iceworks. And that's actually my website. It just has more pictures and information, because I kind of keep it toned down because I also have a full-time job. But I do, as most of you know, supply ice carvings to a lot of the large venues in the area, most of the Hershey properties, caterers, things like that, Pennsylvania Farm Show, and I've been doing it for a long time. So one of the reasons I wanted to do this is, well, you know what, I'm getting older. So it's time to start inspiring others to learn how to do some of these things, because you don't want the art to die. So if you can go to the next slide. So what's the difference between a buffet carving and a snow-filled logo? Well, buffet carving should be three-dimensional, and it should be built thicker than, because it's got to hold up a lot longer. A buffet carving should also be finished from all sides, where a snow-filled logo might be a little more two-dimensional. And a buffet carving requires some artistic ability. You have to have a little bit of skill to be able to do that. Brian, I don't know if you recognize where that's at. It's at the Hotel Hershey. That was an antique automobile I had done for the Pennsylvania Auto Association. So, and that's out of all the carvings you're going to see in this slide presentation, that is the only 2-block piece. Everything else is 1 block, and so you'll see. Again, very, it's not just a cube or a rectangle. So if you can go to the next slide, please. So what is involved with snow-filled techniques? Well, you need a design or a logo to replicate. And you'll need different tools than you will with a buffet carving. Now this is a carving, obviously now Suge, which is down in the Gettysburg area. But you'll need more time to prepare your template. And you'll also need some small to medium-sized Dremel bits. Next slide. Can I combine buffet-style ice carving with the snow-filled technique? You can. You can combine the two together. When creating a piece like that, remember that your snow-filled logo is going to be the last step of your carving, because you want to Dremel it in and get it set and put it in the freezer. This is a piece that I did for Hospice of Central PA, and it's a 3-dimensional ice skate on top. And the reason was, I forget his name, he was an Olympic ice carver who was coming to one of their fundraisers. So they wanted an ice carving of an ice skate, and it sat on the top of the stage in front of, like, I don't know, 400 or 500 people. So I was pretty charged to be able to do that. It was kind of fun to do too. Next slide, please. All right, so these are a couple examples of some snow-filled logo carvings. Obviously, they are from Pennsylvania Farm Show. PA Preferred, I've been doing probably that logo for the Farm Show for probably 15 years. And then when Chef Casey was there, he actually added, this was always the opening night reception. And there were a lot of different ones that I've done over the years, but this was just a good example of that's the Farm Show logo. And you can use a logo and also send a message at the same time with your ice. Next slide, please. So these are a couple of carvings. The one presidential seal was at the Hilton. Walter Scheib was the dinner that he did at the Harrisburg Hilton with John Reese. And I also have a picture of him beside the carving. And of course, Ford, McCaffrey, and there's some blue lighting underneath it, but it doesn't show up as well in this picture. But that was at a Ford dealership. And I remember going for the interview when they wanted to see what like a logo carving looked like, and I sat in a room with 9 salesmen with white shirts and ties looking at me, asking questions. So at the end of the day, they were happy with what they got. But you can see it makes a statement. The people are very excited when they get to see their logo and ice, and it becomes a very photographic point. So, next slide, please. So you can also do more than just the logo with snow filling. So these are messages, absolutely, where you take a shape and you can write a message into a artistic shape to deliver your message. This is obviously a Merry Christmas star. And if you look, the one on the right is From Our Hearts to Your Hearts. I just recently did that piece in February, and it was at a church up here in Harrisburg off of 13th Street. And you look at the difference when you set your ice in with a black background. I'm very fortunate. I get to spend some time when I meet with the customers, and if they listen, and I say, if you can get some black material or something black behind your table when we set the ice, but it really makes it pop, and your message comes through loud and clear. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so use of colored lighting. These are a couple examples of, I don't like to use colored ice because I think colored ice is very messy. It's also it's not clear and beautiful. I think the ice is clear. It looks crystally. Colored ice, I think, has an opaque type look, and it's very messy. I once did an orange block. I cut an orange block for somebody because they wanted something, and by the end of the day, when I went home, I had orange underwear because all the colored water wound up seeping down, and it was just crazy. But this is an example here of just the Lobar logo is a blue logo just by putting blue lights underneath it. And obviously, if you don't know, the T is Trinity High School. And just by putting some green battery operated puck lights on. Very simple. Okay, next slide. So this is an example of using snow filling for carving. If you look at the art that I was sent, this was from Mifflintown on New Year's Eve, this past New Year's Eve. And they're famous for their bridge in Mifflintown, if you've ever been there. The bridge is no longer there, but it was one of their historic landmarks that made them famous. And so when the lady contacted me and she wanted to have some ice for New Year's Eve, she said, can you do the Mifflintown Bridge? Well, if you look at the carving on the left, that's out of one block, and it's three-dimensional, but there's no way you could do that if you didn't do it snow-filled. And then all we did was we took the pieces up there and then we assembled it actually on a buffet table and put lighting under each pier. And as the night came and it settled, it showed really, really well. So those are just white lights underneath there. But I use the artwork on the right to create the carving on the left. Okay, next. All right, so how do I transfer a logo from photo to ice? So I decided to do our American Culinary Federation Harrisburg chapter logo. So you need a black and white line drawing of your design to copy onto your transfer film. And if you've never done it, basically once you make you put transfer paper into your printer and then you hit print and it should come out and it should be on there. So now this is obviously a colored logo because it's multicolored. It does not transfer well to be able to reproduce it in a template. So you want to print it in black and white. So you'll need an overhead projector and you'll need an absorbent paper that you can design your template with. And you'll also need a flat wall to post your template paper on so that you can move and adjust your logo as you set it up. Next slide, please. So what kind of paper is best for making templates? I use a 24-inch wide brown craft paper. You can order it from Staples and pick it up. It's not something they carry, but you can order it online and have delivered it to your local store. It's very similar to brown grocery store bag material. It's almost of the same density, but it's called craft paper. And I've tried to put the dimensions on here. The dimensions of the rectangle are 39 inches by 19.5. The actual block is 40 by 20, but you want to make your template a little bit smaller because by the time your ice block starts to temper, it's going to get a little smaller. It's going to shrink a little bit. So especially if you're trying to put a logo in there, you want to make sure that you don't design your logo too big and then all of a sudden you don't have enough ice. So but this is how I start out as I make a rectangle. This is on the back of a door in my basement. Next slide. So preparing your design. So you can see here, that's our logo. I have it on an overhead projector and I have it thrown up on the wall to be able to trace onto the craft paper. Now I have the dimensions written out on the side. I could do the logo bigger than that, but I wanted it to be eye level for the customer. So I always try to do it on the top half of the block. So once I line it up exactly where I want it, then I either tape the transfer to the overhead so it doesn't move in case I would get stopped or something would happen. But you can kind of line it up exactly where you want it. I try to get as much size out as I can so it shows well from across the room. But the bottom half of the block is going to be pillars to support the top half of the logo. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so now this is the final product of the logo being traced onto the template paper. And if you look at, if you know our logo well, you know it's checkerboard. And if you look at the checkerboard above the writing and below the writing, I have S kind of marked because I'm gonna take that out and snow fill it. So that's my way of reminding me that I have to do that. So this is the completion of the template. All right, next. Okay, this is what it looks like when it's done, but we're going to view the video to see how we get to there. So Autumn, if you could start the video. And the video is a little muffled. I have to thank Anna Smith. She met me over at Westie's Beer Distributor and did the video shoot. And it was very nice. Go ahead.
You have somewhere to grab a hold of underneath it. I don't go down too far. I go down far enough I can stick my hand.
Bob.
And I use a clothes iron. Make sure there aren't any like bumps. I'm going to get it somewhat. The ice they used to make years ago had like a feather in the center. This ice is actually made laying down instead of standing up. So all the air bubbles have been taken out and cut off. So you want to look for, when you pick your block, making sure you have the right side of what you need, your best side. So look at the different sides. Look at this side. This is actually what that is, calcium. Okay, so we're going to pick this side to be our show side, and I'm going to be cutting off some of that, so some of those bubbles are going to go out. So we have our ice prepped. We're going to lay the template on the ice. And this is the finished template that we saw in the PowerPoint. It should line up dimensions of the ice. You want to make sure your edges are straight. I always bring a copy of what I'm making with me, just in case I lose track or need some better detail. Dremel. It's an 1/8" shank Dremel, and this is called a needle point bit. It's about a $50 bit. You can get them out of some of the places that sell ice tools in Ohio and Chicago. I'm going to mark my template. I'm not going to mark the top part, and you'll see why in a few minutes. I'm going to mark getting the block ready to prep to cut it. I don't want the full thickness of the ice on top because it's too heavy. So I'm gonna narrow that at the top, and then I'll lay this back under and do the logo. Save this. I'm going to put it in my van just so it doesn't blow away. I'm going to prep the block and get it ready to put the logo on. Okay, so we cleaned up our area a little bit. We want to make sure we remove like any of the scrap ice that's sitting around so you don't trip over and fall. You know, it's very important when you're working with high-speed tools, and you want to make sure your area is clean. So I have a 4.5-inch angle grinder that I have a piece of 50 grit sandpaper on. We do a lot of shaping with this and cleaning. You'll notice just a little bit between like cuts on both sides. There's a little bit of a imbalance, so we're going to fix that up. I'll show the top. today's a little windy, so I actually have the wind in my back, which actually works in my favor because that's going to help keep the template on the ice so it doesn't blow it off. A couple things you need. This is a can of freezing agent. If you get down into some where the paper starts to tear, I always have a can of freezing agent where I can freeze it back onto the ice so that I don't lose it, especially if there's any kind of a lot of fine detail. Our logo has some detail, but not a lot of fine detail. So one of the really important things is you work from the inside out when you do this. You don't start the circle, because if it blows away, you've lost everything. So I'm going to do the writing first, probably the pie, and then some of the checkerboard. And if you look on the logo, where it has S marked, I'm going to hollow that out and fill it with snow, so it's like a white and dark contrast. And then as I work my way around, I'll be able to finish everything. And then once I have it all dremeled out, I'll take it off. I'm going to remove the part that I want to have the snow in. And then I'm also going to go back over the logo again the second time to make sure I can get at least an inch deep into the ice. It's really important if you do a logo, you don't know how long your ice is going to be out for your event. So you just can't do a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch down into the ice if the room temperature is really warm, or if you have to set it up ahead of time, or there's just conditions. So it's important that as you get it as deep in there as you can with the tools that you have. This bit's about 1 inch long. I'm not going to go all the way in, but I'll probably go in at least 3/4 to 1 inch into the ice just to make sure that it fits. And it also kind of makes it look a little nicer too once it fits. So you'll be able to see when we get there. So. Make sure that you have all your lines drawn in with your Dremel. paper, and then I'm going to do a little more filling out of the snow. Fix this right here because my paper tour that happens sometimes, especially when there's a lot of lines in one spot. Now, these kind of temperatures, today's about 65 to 70 degrees. If you can do something like this, you have to be kind of organized and plan it and make sure that you attack it the right way. 40 to 45 is the ideal temperature. Before I go through and deepen my lines, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to probably do it the same way I started, to do the letters, because that's what I did first. So those are the ones that probably lost a little bit of volume. And then I'm going to go through. And once you have the lines in, it can go pretty fast. You just have to don't go too fast because the tools are sharp. It's easy to go off the pattern and then you've messed up your load. So I went through and I traced all my lines again to make sure that I had them nice and deep. So I want to, wherever I mark with a dot, I'm going to Dremel out. And this is called a die grinder with an end mill. So this will happen pretty fast. The idea is to take out squares so I can fill in with solid snow. Some nice clean snow. I put some plastic down so that it doesn't hit the concrete. Concrete's wet, it's going to get gray. I want to try to keep it white. All right, and our goal here is to fill this in where we dremeled it out. Pack it in. And what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to finish the block and decorate the base and decorate the outside and a little bit of the ledge, and it's ready to go. last thing to do is to decorate around our canvas. I take my sander and I just do a kind of a scallop look. So that's our finished product. You can see it actually came together pretty quick. We were probably out here about an hour, start to finish. We got the ice prepped. The whole idea is make sure you have a good template, make sure you're organized, start from the center. And if you notice when I decorated the block and did all this stuff, you always do that last because you want to have nice sharp corners instead of doing it first. If I had waited until last to do the logo, all this stuff would be kind of rounded off. So now I'm going to put it in the freezer and store it for a surprise for a meeting someday. Thanks.
That was great, Chef. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks. I'm glad I sent everything to you today, Autumn. So
Yes.
I saw there was a couple questions, but I want to thank Anna too. She was out there, and if you can't tell, I can't stand the wind when I carve. But I was more about temperature for me because you never know in June what the temperature is going to be, and I carve outside all year long. I rarely get to carve inside, so I always have to plan it around temperature. But that piece, it was probably a little more than an hour. It probably took about an hour and a half. But that's in a freezer, secret hideaway somewhere. But you can see, I mean, the logo, our logo isn't that complicated, but it's not a simple one. So, but there's enough detail in there and it was big enough that it'll pop from across the room. So.
And Chef, did you see Richard's question? How is the material for the top half removed? Is the sandpaper for the angle grinder a special material because of the moisture?
It's aluminum oxide sandpaper, and it's 50 grit, and it's very, I mean, it can take your skin off pretty quick, and it's a high-speed tool. So, and I'm assuming he means like the flawed ice. Is that what you mean, Chef? Thank you, sir. Thank you, Charlie. Chef Richard, do you mean the flawed ice?
The block, you said you were going to remove the template and then take the thin the material in the top half, then replace the template. And I missed
Okay.
how that part was removed.
Because we didn't film that.
Okay.
So how we did that was I cut on both sides. So I measured about 2 inches in. I kind of eyeball it. And then I go down one side with the chainsaw, and then I go around to the other side with the chainsaw, and then I meet in the middle.
Oh, both sides. Okay.
On both sides, and then I cut underneath. And those two slabs that were on the side there that I used to get the extra snow
There's
out
snow.
of,
Yeah.
I always save those, and I try
Awesome.
to keep them in a clean spot. But yeah, because it's too heavy, you know, and you don't want your ice to be top heavy, so it's got to look proportionate. And that simple design, you can do just about anything. It's usually logos, but I've done luges in there, you know, in that same design. And you don't have to use like the hexagon. You can do an oval. You can do a circle. I just try to keep it simple, and just by scalloping the edges, it gives it an artistic look to it. But yes, that's how you thin it out.
And that gave it so much more finesse too. It was really nice. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. My
Good
pleasure.
job, Chef. Good job, man. I look
There
amazing.
he is.
What technique that I used to, Tom, is I know I saw you making the slush. You just took a piece of block and I cut it. I used to take some crushed ice and I put it in my buffalo chopper, and I make like slush. And it's not as fine as I think as what you come up with, but it still works. It works okay.
Yeah.
It works okay, but not as good as you do.
Yeah, and I don't have a buffalo chopper. underneath my carport at Westie's.
You know?
No, no, I don't. But no,
Makes a good
anything
slushy
that
too.
you don't have to use a chainsaw. You can use your large Dremel too. Anything that makes air is going to give you that fine snow-like type look. And if your ice is colder, it's whiter. So the temperatures that day, they were okay. But I carve all year long, so I carve in 90-degree temperatures too. So I always try to pick what I'm going to do. You have to carve different in the summer because you have to allow space for loss. So like if I was designing that template and it was a really hot weather, I would have made that template a little smaller as far as the logo, because you lose volume in ice very quick. So,
Hey,
but
Tom,
yeah, yes.
will you tell the folks that haven't done a lot of ice carving, what happens if you slip? I've seen you do some really great magic on putting stuff back together again.
Well, yeah, you don't panic. That's the thing, because when you start out as a carver, you start out as a buffet carver, and you start out carving solid single blocks, because that's how you start out. And when I took the course under Mark Dacus, one of the biggest things he said he wanted you to learn is don't look at ice as it's a block and it's only inside the rectangle is the only thing that you can do. Look at it as stock. In other words, if you cut it in pieces and then put it back together, if you looked at the bridge, that all came out of one block. And it's for economy too, because if I had to charge the customer 2-block price for that piece, it gets a lot more expensive because I pay for the ice and then I cut it. So I have some aluminum plates where as long as you can make both seams solid, and I take my iron and I have like 3 different size aluminum plates that if something breaks, that I can mend it back together. But as long as one piece is really cold, so if something cracks like the tip of a wing or whatever, get it into the freezer. And if you have to bring it back out in 20 minutes, as long as it's cold, it'll stick. That's what's one of the tricks. But yes, you learn from mistakes. So, but that's a great question. Thanks, Chef.
Does anyone else have questions for Chef Long?
Tom, tell them about probably the most unique piece I've ever seen you do was the man on the moon sitting on top of the half moon with the fishing rod.
Oh wow, yeah.
That was a gazillion years ago, but that was just phenomenal. I mean, I've never seen anything to this day like that. I mean, literally had the fishing line hanging off the fishing pole in ice.
Yeah, that was in a competition at the farm show years ago, and that was when I was doing NICA competitions, and and I know Chef Notter gets this. You compete to get better. You want to win, but really the whole reason you compete is to get better so you can win. Because each time you compete, you learn something and you push yourself and you challenge yourself to do something you're not sure if you can even do yet. And my early competition experience, I didn't practice. I didn't get to do a lot of pieces because I was running the arches. So I would come up with a design, and many times, the first time I would make that piece was at that competition, and I didn't have a chance to make it again. So I would make it once, and I also, if I moved on to another competition, I didn't do the same piece there because the judges in the NICA circuit would travel around. So you start out at Harrisburg, and then if you went to Mount Holly Springs, you might see the same judges. You might or you might not, but they like to see that you were doing something different. So if they kept judging the same piece, your score would go down each time they would see it. So I would always try to do something different. And that was a piece, and I was up against some really, really, really good carvers.
You were?
I mean, really good. The guys that are, Aaron Kostick, Peter Slavin, these guys, they make a living at it. And I think I came in 5th or 6th. And, but it was a man on the moon sitting on top of the crescent moon. And I had him on a platform and it looked like water. And then there was a fish jumping out of the water, and I connected his fishing rod to the fish. And it was in inside temperatures. And and it held for like a long time. And I think
It did.
the fishing line was like an inch square, but about 38 inches long. Like I said, I cut it. I didn't know it was going to fit. I had to make it fit. So, but that was one of those pieces. I think we had 20 carvers that day, and I had a lot of carvers come up to me in a couple of competitions later that said, we thought you should have been in the top three.
Yeah.
Because your piece was phenomenal. But I've learned when you compete, and anybody that competes, it's not always about what the judges say. It's about how you feel about your efforts personally. And if you're satisfied with your efforts, that you did your best, you can't change the judges' minds. They're there to judge. So you learn from it. But thank you, Charlie. I'm glad you remembered that. Yes, there's Mr. Olawine.
It's one of my favorites. I thought I would show since it was more realistic to an actual human being. I thought that was a cool one.
Yes, that was at Hack. That was years ago, and they had called me and asked me if I could do a portrait of Mr. Olawine. And they had a drawing or a logo of him that they used for marketing. And there was a tribute to Mr. Olawine because he's such a great person. God bless him. And he called me like 2 days later to thank me.
It was awesome. I'm glad. That's great.
But
Hey,
he did.
Chef Long, if talking about improvisation, I remember in 2008 you had two of my students and you were on City Island doing a multi-piece and you ran out of ice. Can you tell them what you did next?
Yeah, so it was the polar plunge or the penguin plunge. It was a thing for Special Olympics, and they did it on I think it was like January 1st or January 2nd, and it was really, really cold. It was like 10 degrees out. And I had talked to Good Time Ice, and I designed a piece. It was the Eskimo plunge. That's what it was. So I designed a piece of an Eskimo jumping with snowshoes on, like it was going to be jumping into the water, and it needed to be a 3-block piece. So I asked Good Time Ice if they could deliver 3. Now I'm asking them to donate the ice. So they said, sure, if you can deliver 3 blocks to City Island at 8 o'clock Saturday morning or whatever it was. I mean, and it was brutally cold. And so I got there, and the lady who was in charge, her name was Kay, and I said, I'm looking for my ice. She goes, what's over there? And there was 1 block. And I thought, well, how am I going to do that? I've already designed my piece. What am I going to do? And I said, I designed this to be a 3-block. She said, well, there's ice down along the river if you want to go get it. So luckily, 2 students from Brian's class showed up to volunteer. And so I used those young men, and we hoofed pieces up over the hill, up into the parking lot. And then I used the single block that I had to make my Eskimo, and then we mounted it on the river ice. So in a sense, we were harvesting ice out of the river to complete our carving. And there was some guy on the radio, and he was just going crazy because he said, there's a guy down here that's harvesting ice out of the river, and he's making an ice carving for the Special Olympics. And I broke the window on my van. It was so cold that day when I tried to roll it down. I mean, it was really cold, but it was a good experience. You learn to adapt. That's what you do. And I was blessed that Brian and Bob had a couple guys there with me, and because I couldn't have done all that by myself. So.
Very awesome. Well, thank you again. We appreciate it.
It was my pleasure.
You had sent me this information, so this will be uploaded onto our website, as well as I'll send it on an email with the PowerPoint and the video link. It will be on our YouTube page, so everyone can have that information, definitely. Thank you again, Chef. Thank you, Anna, for recording. Great job. See some recording skills. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just real quick, Chef Barry Young had to head out. He was just joining us, our Northeast Vice President. I know he had introduced himself, but he did have to head out and mentioned in the chat, thank you for allowing me to join your meeting this evening, but he does have another meeting to attend. If there's any assistance he can be, don't hesitate to reach out to him. And then he just reiterated about the virtual convention in August and maybe seeing everyone in Nashville in October, which was great. And when I talked to him initially, he was there just to join in, see what we're doing. So I thought that was great to have him join. I do believe I recapped everything that he had mentioned on that Northeast regional call. So just wanted to mention that before we moved on then. Okay, so speaking of education, Anna, can we get an update or anything you have in regards to the education coming up? You'll have to unmute yourself, sorry. You still need to unmute yourself. You're good.
Next month, we're working on getting Chef Barry from the government to do a presentation on beekeeping, because they keep bees at the governor's mansion. I'm waiting to hear back from him. He's scheduled to make sure he can do it. If not, I was gonna try to reach out to maybe another beekeeper, or maybe just the beekeeper at the governor's mansion. We got to meet him when they let some hack students come, and we got to help them harvest their honey. So that's what we're working on for next month. And then the month after that, we're going to be at Evergreen, and they're going to do their presentation with beer. So those are upcoming stuff. That's what I got.
Great, thank you. And thank you again for, that educational resource page. You've really gone above and beyond, and I'm giving credit with everyone else, but I definitely am giving you as much props as possible. So thank you very much for all of your hard work there. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on then to Susan with competitions. You most likely will have to unmute yourself as well, Susan. You're good? Okay, great.
Okay, yeah, got it. So we did have our healthy cookie competition, and thank you for the people that, the students especially that entered, obviously. Rashida did an amazing job again, so congratulations. Not only did she have beautiful cookies, but also the explanation of all the ingredients was what was so interesting, as far as what each ingredient did and how it was a health benefit with cholesterol lowering. So that was really great to see. So she kind of went not only with the recipe, but I felt really above and beyond with that. So Friday, I'm actually traveling. Well, I'm not home right now, but Friday I will be shipping her out another gift. Little different than last time, but obviously something to do with chocolate still. And then also Isaiah Kennedy also did a very nice job with the blueberry and oatmeal, like a square cookie, a bar, which also looked very, very nice and very, very healthy. So really appreciate the efforts, and I look forward actually to trying the recipes as well. Obviously on the ACF website, there's the competitions that are scheduled. I only see a couple, Milwaukee and Los Angeles, as far as ACF competitions. Nothing local yet. So, and I don't quite know what's going on with the selection. Normally at the national convention, there would have been a selection process going on for the national teams, but as far as I haven't heard anything yet. I will try and find out more about that. And obviously with the convention, maybe at the regionals, they'll do something, in terms of maybe having some tryouts or something like that. It could be. I also want to just tell everybody about pastry. So a series of pastry videos, which are being launched. So the website is www.pastrysummit.com. They are actually finishing up record. They did launch it, but they have to add a couple more videos in. So I think by next week they'll do a relaunch. There's around about 60 videos. They're internationally done. Some, everybody was either doing them from home or, for example, they did quite a few from the French pastry school. Typically last between 30 to 40 minutes. I have a couple. One is on ganache techniques, and the other one I did together with one of my colleagues out of India, Anil, and we did it on tempering. So when you actually log into that, the first few days of it are completely free. And then they will then after that, if you want to keep having access to the videos, you would have a subscription, but you also get the Pastry Arts magazine free as well with that. So I don't know if anybody, maybe Brian has already had a look at some of them. But obviously it's all about pastry, but it's everything. It's so many different topics, and so very great resources as well. So you know, tell everybody just to log in, go through it, choose, you know, look at what you want to see. So everything, Eval's doing something on pastillage, you know, there's different dessert trends, there's the chocolate, different techniques. So very, very well worth taking the time to see. So that's about it right now.
It's a pastry chef's Netflix. Binge away.
And I did put it in the chat, the website, just in case anyone didn't quite get
Yeah, like I said, they did do a launch, and then they added some more recordings, which they're finishing up right now. So not exactly sure when the relaunch is. So if you go on, log in, and you can't get in yet, just try again. And if I hear anything, Autumn, I will let you know. I can email you from the organizer, and then maybe we can put it in the newsletter or something.
Great,
But it's
great.
well worth it. I mean, it's free for the beginning, so take a look.
Okay. And while we have you, Chef, you have something personally going on here in the next, I'm assuming, couple weeks here, if you'd like to share.
Yes, I am. So in about a month, I am moving. So, but as long as you're Zooming, I can still join you no matter where I am, right?
Well, I read in an email and have it locked down that she was doing an October demo on the candy making that you would be willing to do via Zoom. So yes, I think this is an option that we can, once we are meeting again, we can set up a computer in the corner and anyone can join in. Absolutely. So
I was actually asked by another chapter for a Zoom meeting in November as well. So maybe we'll keep doing these. But I am, I live currently in Lancaster, and I've been in the area about 10 years. I am moving south. I did live in Alabama before moving up here, and I'm actually going back down to Alabama. Few reasons is, you know, now with my job, the beauty of this is I travel normally 60% of my time, and it doesn't really matter where I live in the country. So as long as I can get to an airport, you know, it makes no difference to the company where I actually live. You know, in a few years, I will be looking at retirement. It's coming up. So I'm looking for it to be a place where I actually can, you know, look, it's affordable to live, and I can work on paying off a house. And I have friends down there. My youngest son is almost 17, is actually going to be in the Georgia area, so I'll be closer to him. So, and then plus it doesn't snow. So I don't have to shovel snow after getting back from a trip. So, but you know, my job takes me, like I said, I'm traveling a lot of the time. So I will be back in the Pennsylvania area. It's you know, that's the thing. I'll always be around. So hopefully I'll knock on some of your doors and ask you to buy chocolate. So I'm not gone, and my daughter lives in Arlington, Virginia, and so I will definitely be back up in the area. So really my job is all over the country, which is nice, and it doesn't take me from one area to another. I just will be living in a place.
well, awesome. I'm glad you'll still be part, and we'll definitely keep you involved and be anxious to hear of your travels.
I'd like to be. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And speaking of competitions, Faith Brenneman had brought up a great idea for student outreach. She has been part of the team with these competitions here. And we've heard from many students looking for a savory competition now. Chef had put both of these together, so obviously it was pastry related, but we are looking for a chef that wants to head up a competition, just like Chef Nader had done, where you would be the judge, you would determine what the criteria is, and we can roll out a new competition. We've heard grilling, chili cook-offs, different things to where, again, it would be based on recipes. I think students really got into it. I think the nutritious cookie, the nutrition part threw a few people for a loop there. But I think students are looking for a savory competition. So, I ask if anyone in our membership would like to host that, please let me know, reach out, and I will put that in the newsletter as well, that we're looking to start a new competition. Again, I'm looking for one chef to really head it up and be the judge, set the criteria, and be willing to, again, then evaluate them all and select the winner. Obviously, a prize would be nice. I have a poster behind me that could be one, but you know, it would be nice to be able to give something again more on the savory side now. So if anyone's interested, please feel free to speak up now, or again via email contacting me or Faith. We give a 5-second. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to social media. Renee, I'm assuming you're still with us. And okay, great.
Yep.
Any updates on social media?
I don't have a whole lot of like specific news to talk about, except that I was going through some of our posts and so forth, and I've noticed that we have actually on a few of our posts almost hit 1,000 views. So I was like, woohoo, that's huge. I mean, we went from like no one knowing about us to other ACF chapters following us on Instagram. We're getting there. We don't have a lot of followers yet, but Instagram certainly is helping. The big thing that I need from people is just share your videos, your pictures. If you have an Instagram or a Facebook page, share it with me so that I can either follow you, because I think one of the things we really want to do is focus on promoting our members and their work and showing off what you can do. So like Chef Long, don't keep all your ice sculptures to yourself. Share those pics so we can share them and inspire other people. Instagram is especially useful for that because it's very image driven. So if you are creating a new dish and you took a picture of it, so that's where I need really the membership to step up and provide me with more fodder, so to speak. But I will try to share as much as possible. If there's things that you want to see that you're not seeing, or things that you think I should be sharing more of, please let me know. I just am sort of, you know, winging it, so to speak. I've been trying to keep the PRLA in particular, anything that has to do with COVID or any type of grants, and obviously the ACF webinars and so forth at the forefront. But if there's anything local that's going on, you know, and you want me to reinforce it or mention it that maybe I'm, you know, missing out on, please let me know, because you're going to be in many cases more involved in it than I am. So it's best if you can just don't assume I don't know, because if I know, then I won't post it. But if I don't know, then I posted it. So just assume I don't know it and send it to me.
Renee, are you following? The way I've seen it works is that we personally have to follow these restaurants and follow the schools, and then that way we can post on our ACF page. Are you following all of pretty much the operations?
Yeah, yeah. I try to as they come up. I'm trying to put certain chefs with what restaurant, you know. So I do try to follow them and share. Instagram, it's a little bit easier to do that. I find that with Instagram, when I follow them, a lot of times you can't share them on your feed, but I can share certain items in our story. So, for example, I know Chef Casey has done some things with Raising the Bar. Maybe they had I know they have a tea special thing coming up this week. I may share that to our story, and people can, if they're looking at the story, they can, you know, kind of jump over and they can pull up her page and so forth. So I do try. It's difficult unless I screen capture it on Instagram. That's why if you can send me to me directly via email or even a text message, then I can upload it as an actual image, you know, from our page.
Are you okay then with me including your cell phone in the newsletter?
Yeah.
For pictures too?
Yep.
And I also want to send you our membership list with names and the restaurant or operations. So that way you can have a clear connection of who our members are and operations are.
That would be great.
All right. Any other updates you have for us?
I'm sorry. One more thing. Did you say earlier that we have a YouTube channel now? Or were you just referring?
No, we do.
Okay. So if you could send me that, because I don't think I have that link.
You ready for it? ACF Harrisburg. I don't know what you need to write it down. ACF Harrisburg. Yeah. When you're on YouTube, just type in ACF Harrisburg. That is where recordings are for the month. Chef Heron's video, anything that I'm sent, this ice carving video, anything for the chapter, I'm putting on that YouTube page. I didn't start it until after Chef Notter's fondant technique demonstration, and we got a few out, but now I'm putting everything on that. So just ACF Harrisburg is all.
All
you
right. I want to make sure I get that out there as well.
Yes. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on then to student outreach with Faith Brenneman. Faith, you will have to unmute. Okay, perfect. Do you have any updates for us, Faith?
Yes and no. So you did cover earlier about us adding the student page in the monthly newsletter. So like you said, we just want to start getting a plethora of students. So that's where I'm calling upon instructors or chefs that work with students who want to recognize their students. So I'm asking just for everything you saw there, just a nice bio about your student, the name, picture, school, just so we can start getting all these students organized, so we can start getting them in our newsletter.
And Faith, when you say, you had mentioned, we had talked about, you were going to put together kind of a questionnaire, right? To send out, listing that, like, you know, here a student's name and what they're studying, and, you know, maybe some volunteer opportunities they've done, and, you know, what just sets a student aside. You were going to put together something that we can send out, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Because I think that would help. And then we can forward it to all educators, asking for them to complete that, you know, and not to make something too labor intensive, but we're asking for at least one student. But hey, if you have 5, I feel I have 100 I could write about, but I don't want it to be a hack show. So that's where we definitely want to make sure that you pull a bunch of resources, and that's something you can get to me hopefully within a week after our meeting at the latest. That way I can be plugging it into the newsletter.
Yeah, sure will.
Okay, so what's your timeline on that? Do you anticipate in the next, I'm going to just put words in your mouth, next day or 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I'll get it to you.
That would be great. Then we can get something out here today. All right, other updates you have?
Not at this time.
Okay, and I know with the competition that you were looking to get started and geared up for the students, I see Chef Geip had suggested or chimed in on the chat that he will work on a chili contest. So maybe connecting with him and seeing what you guys can put together, and Renee for social media, the flyers. I know you've done a great job with that. So just to redirect there. Thank you.
I'll reach out to you here via email if that's cool.
Great. Thank you, Faith. All right, next up is apprenticeship. I know Bob is on as well as Brian. Is there any updates on the apprentices and how they're doing? I believe last month you said you had talked to them and you're looking at a couple weeks getting things rolling again.
Yeah, we're actually going to have a site visit tomorrow, just for the CTC. We're going to have the hybrid site visit that they're doing right now. With the apprentices, we just talked with the HE&R the other day, and they look like they're probably, according to Chef, you know, there's probably like another 5 to 7 people that have to get in line before the apprentices even get back to work yet. So there, as the F&B opportunities come up, you know, they'll bring back the apprentices back to the properties to work. So they're still like in a holding pattern. We've been doing virtual classes and doing assignments and everything with them as of right now. We also are hoping that some, you know, last year's apprentices that graduated, some of them never took their written test, and we're hoping that we are now ready to go with PSI at the CTC. We had some issues there with that, but I think we're pretty clear. Hopefully next week, one of them, Jared Eltz, is going to be the first one to take a shot at that. So we're excited about that, at least to try to get one under our belts, because we don't know what to expect from it yet. So we're hoping that that'll go forward there with that. But like I said, the ACF is still working on, you know, a lot of things. We talked to their national office today, and there's a lot of people wearing a lot of different hats down there right now. So things aren't as smooth as they should be, you know, and we understand to a certain point, but there's still, you know, things still have to go forward. And, you know, we made some suggestions to them on, you know, some things that we've been having issues with as far as apprenticeship and just communication. I think that's the hardest thing, because I had a contact person for certification, and I've been forwarding that information to the apprentices that wanted to see about taking the test, and find out that individual doesn't even work there anymore. So it's things like that that we're still running into with, and maybe some of the members do too with ACF. So in some ways you have to be patient about it, and find out, our main thing is if there's a change in the guard down there for any position, they need to let us know. They need to put out a newsletter, something to let us all know who is now the contact person for each area of the ACF, so we'll get that moving in the right direction too. But it just sounded like, yeah, they're scrambling down there right now. So hopefully things that'll smooth out here in the next couple months.
Great, thank you. Brian, did you have anything to add? Nope. Okay. All right. Sounds great. Thank you. We'll move on then to certifications. Michael, if you could update us, as well as I've had some students recently get their certifications. Maybe if you could just give them a quick overview as to what they need to do each year, because I don't know that, I've had that one student that just came back after 3-4 years, hasn't really been doing that continuing education. So how's the system now say a student just got their certification?
Well, for all of those that have certification, you get, I believe, CFC and PF, the pastry culinary, and they only last for 3 years at the secondary level. Is that right, Brian? Yeah. Okay. So for those that in the secondary level, every 3 years you have to have X number of continuing education hours. That number escapes me at this point. But for all of us who are at the professional level from culinary and on up, it's 80 hours every 5 years, in addition to the sanitation requirement, and I think there's a management requirement or nutrition requirement that's still there. It used to be all three. It's not that way anymore. I apologize, I'm not up to speed on it as much as I should be. But with the break we're taking here, the pandemic break we're taking, there's very little activity with regard to certification. The most activity we see right now are people asking for extensions and extensions on the written exams because they've taken them and they just haven't had an opportunity. They've taken the practicals, they haven't had an opportunity to take the written yet. So rest assured that nobody's certification will be discontinued. We've had these discussions with the office. We've had discussions on with regard to accreditation as well. We're not discontinuing anybody's accreditation. We're just extending them or deferring them for 6 months until they get back up. So, for example, Autumn, you were talking about a couple of schools that are not going back. Well, hopefully none of those schools are on our list to review this year, but if they are, we'll extend their accreditation just as we'll extend everybody's certification. And I'll add this too, if anybody has issues with the certification department down there or has trouble getting in contact with anybody in the office that you need a response to, please reach out to me. I will make every effort to ensure that you get it. Stop smiling, Brian. I will make every effort to make sure that you get a response in a timely manner, because good communications is extremely critical, especially now. And one of my biggest beefs with the organization is lack of communication. So if you're not getting the answers you need, do contact me. I don't care what the topic is. So, but in short, certification is very, very slow. I know there's nothing going on here because we don't have anywhere to do any testing. Our normal testing location out at Lebanon is shut down. All our hack is shut down. So those two primary locations just aren't available. So.
Thank you.
All right.
Moving on to accreditation, Brian, any updates? Well, I just heard that you are having your site visit tomorrow, your hybrid site visit tomorrow. Any other updates here that you can share with us?
Well, we just had our meeting today, and we're just moving forward. There are some things that we are working on that we could probably talk about. We're working on a digital credentialing, a digital badge that's kind of new, that's going out there. And we're working with NOCTI on that. Michael, can we talk about the expansion yet or not yet?
The expansion
of more programs.
Yeah, go.
We're expanding into accreditation for food and beverage programs. Post-secondary is finished and it's being tweaked. And once it's also being now looked at for secondary, because there are across the country programs that do wonderful hospitality and tourism, and they might fall into this accreditation category, but they don't have the ability to have like a commercial kitchen. So we're looking to expand ACF accreditation into those type of arenas as well. So we're really excited about that. Like Michael said, there's a lot of movement with accreditation. There's 30 plus schools that were furloughed this spring, and we have another almost 40 in the fall. So we're looking at 70 schools with accreditation. So I just sent information to Chef Coral, where he had a Maryland school and I have a Maryland school, and there's 2 other Maryland schools. So we're looking at possibly taking all 4 of those Maryland schools and go on a road trip and go and accreditate them. And Michael's doing the same thing. We're trying to, and if anybody is interested in being a part of the accreditation process and on the team and want training, I know Autumn, you had said, let us know, and we would be more than happy to get you on board and get you in that, because I will tell you from an educational standpoint, and Chef Reese, I think this might be really good for you as well. The industry chef is needed really, really that perspective, and it's a lot of fun. I know Chef Roebuck has gone on some, and I know Chef Geip has gone on some, and it's truly a really great educational experience, and it really opens up your mind and your eyes to seeing all the wonderful things that are happening in our country. So it's just a lot of fun.
Great, thank
That's all I
you.
got. Yep.
Brian, did you care to talk about the hybrid process as well?
Well, I can tell you what's happening with us. We're looking at, because we don't have students, we are fortunate that we have very detailed student portfolios. So like Chef Parents is coming to our school and there isn't going to be any students, but the great thing is we have digital documentation of all of this, of what our students have done through the year. And we're also going to be doing Zoom with the students, with that Chef will be able to interview. And then we're also doing Zoom with our administration. And then he's obviously going to do a safety inspection of our facility, check out our curriculum, and go through the whole self-study. But I would say probably 70% of the team report is already done. It's just validating everything that Bob and I do at the school. So, and that's kind of it. We're looking at really the schools and contacting them and seeing what they are ready for. Our approach is we need to be ready, because we feel that when the floodgates open and schools are allowed to let people in, it's going to be a ton of people. We're going to have a ton of schools contacting us, and we just want to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row so that we are not being reactive, but we're being proactive and having everything ready so that we can service these schools. And also from a travel standpoint, trying to get to the schools that are in our area, because the national office, as we found out today, Chef and I aren't able to go to the national office because we're flying in. So they're not accepting anybody in the national office that has flown. So we won't be able to do our accreditation commission on site. We just have to do it through Zoom. So that's it. Not anything else, Chef?
I'm guessing he's going to talk to you tomorrow a lot more, huh? Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate that. I know you talked about this new hybrid method and how things were going at the last meeting. So I appreciate an update, and I know all will go well tomorrow, definitely. All right, next up on the list, we have Bob Roebuck. Let me find your phone number here and unmute you. There you are. Chef, are you still with us?
Yes.
Okay, great. If you could please speak to the American Academy of Chefs, please.
Yes, there are several things. The dinner in Nashville for right now is progressing. It'll be at the Westin Nashville Hotel on Wednesday, October the 28th, with Executive Chef Jake Strang. Inductees for 2020, there's 21 inductees, 6 honorary, and 6 Hall of Fame. and several of us know, unfortunately, he passed away some time ago. Going into the Hall of Fame is Dan D'Angelo from the Delaware Valley chapter. And again, it was mentioned on the Academy website that, again, congratulations to Chef Brian as the Northeast Chef Educator of the Year. That's everything for the Academy.
Great, thank you. And at the Northeast Regional Conference, they did just mention again that it is the 65th anniversary and that 20% of the proceeds are going to the Fernandez Mets Relief Fund as well. Thank you, Chef. Any updates on the Ronald McDonald House for us?
No updates at this time.
Okay, how about the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank?
Also, no updates at this time.
Okay, and I did include the link within our mise en place to make sure everybody has that the way you can go to help out and volunteer your time.
Please remove that because as of this time, no volunteers or no agency people are allowed in the food bank. Please remove that.
Oh, okay. How long has that been?
Just recently. They are still off-site packaging, but no volunteers and no agency people are permitted to come in. They can go pick up, but no packing of boxes or preparing of food.
Okay, I'll make that on the...
Bobby, aren't they packing boxes at the food bank and looking, or at the farm show and looking for volunteers there?
No, Mike, they're not. They're strictly using their staff to package, and yes, they are using the farm show. But I did talk to Chris Gray about 2 weeks ago, and it's still the same situation with volunteers or agency people.
Okay, thank you for that update. I'll make sure to include that. Moving on, Chef Richard, do we have any update on PA Flavors that we're all anxiously waiting to know if it's going to happen or not? You'll have to unmute yourself. Chef Blythe, are you with me? I see you there looking at the, oh, there you go. Oh, you unmuted and then muted again. There you go.
There we go. Sorry about that. I have not heard from Heidi. I would be surprised if it's going off on August 22nd, but I have not heard anything back from PLRA or Heidi Howard. Sorry.
Okay. And actually, I don't think, I mean, once you do hear something, if you want to reach out, I don't think we need to wait till the next meeting. You know, if there is an update, if they are moving forward with less people or doing something different, just so we can start that planning process.
We'll do so. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, Chef Reese, any update on your Budget and Finance Committee?
No, there's nothing we can do right now anyway. Yeah, there's not much going on anyway. Right?
The $600 unemployment check, I haven't received it in the count yet. I wasn't sure if you were.
I haven't either. I haven't received mine yet either. And whenever I go back to work, maybe we'll figure something out. Right now, I'm still staying low. I haven't heard anything. You know, I talked to Charlie at the last meeting, and you know, as long as something comes up, we'll find something to do. Right now, it's tough. Let this whole COVID-19 finish up, and you know, when we can start doing things, you know, fundraisers and cooking dinners. And right now, nobody wants you in the house anyway now, so it's still pretty unsafe out there. So right, we wait and see. Plenty of time. We'll make a lot of money. Don't worry.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Chef Herons, any update on the blood bank? You said there was 3 units as of the last meeting, and you challenged everyone to add to that. Have we added to it at all?
I did, and I do not have an update.
Okay. All right. But you at least added, so we're at least up from the 3.
Well, I added my blood.
Thank you for that.
And they kept it.
Woohoo. Thank you. All right, the only other thing I had for old business was I wanted to ask if there was any feedback or updates, anything with that breakfast on a farm. Was that something anyone was pursuing? Did we have any, we were approached about it last meeting, but never really followed up on any conversation. Again, this was the end of August, so whether it goes or not, you know, I'm not quite sure, but I wanted to at least have a response from us if that was something we were interested in pursuing. Was there any thoughts from anyone?
I'm just really scared because of it.
COVID. I don't want to commit to something and then at the last minute be able to be told no. I don't think any institution's going to have the opportunity to participate because it's too shaky right now.
Well, and I look at what facilities can we prep things in as of right now, because the schools are really where we have that open availability for prepping.
But you can't.
By no means is this something we need to take on. I just wanted to get a feel because I do.
It's a shame because I think it would be a wonderful opportunity. I mean, it's really sounds wonderful and a great to be out there and doing this. I know we in Lebanon, and I know the apprentices won't be. If the apprentices are working, they're going to be working 24/7 once they get back, because I think they're going to try to get as much people and as much money that they can generate in what's left of this season. So
I agree. I'm along the same thinking here. I just wanted to make sure when she reapproaches me that I had some feedback. Chef Geip, anything on your end? I know we had talked individually. Any thoughts?
I'm sorry, I must have missed that something there. Is that what we were talking?
The breakfast on the farm. I was just reapproaching the idea to see if that was anything that we had an interest. I mean, Brian was really mentioning at this point with the scenario, we should probably pass.
Yeah, I think, and while we're talking about things like this, I'm concerned about the golf outing also, because if the schools don't come back in, and how they come back in, and will the schools allow them to come and work the golf outing? Now it's October, but I'm just concerned that I don't want to put us on the line to make it happen, and
I'll have the support.
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I will tell you, Charlie, all field trips are canceled. We're not allowed to send any kids out, and that's how it was in the spring. And I foresee that to be the same guidelines. And that's not just, I think that's going to come from the DOE. I think that's going to be state guidelines, no field trips.
All right. That being said, and we had mentioned this in another meeting, do you think that we can pull it off amongst the people that we have? And Brian, you just said a ton when you said that all the apprentices, if they are working, they'll be working and not, not being able to participate. Alumni, same thing. I mean, if you're young, you got to pay your bills, and 9 chances out of 10, you're behind right now. We have enough of us, John Reese and Roebuck and I'm sure we'll be there, since John hopefully will be retired by then. But, can we make this happen? It's and Brian and Bob, you know the situation from start to finish. I'm there at 6 o'clock in the morning and don't leave until 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night, depending upon what all's happening. And it takes quite a few people to make it happen. So, just something to think about. I don't know if maybe if you put it in the newsletter, Autumn, ask people to consider if they would come out and work for the day, or maybe work a portion of the day, and we can do shifts to make it happen. It's a great fundraiser. It pays for our insurance, and plus it opens the door for the young people there to get the opportunity to work with 4 or 5 or 6 different chefs, and also meet the restaurateurs that run the PRLA and the staff that runs the PRLA, because they're in the kitchen all the time. So,
Chef, will we be able to use the kitchen? I'm sorry. Will we be able to use the kitchen at the country club?
I would assume yes.
I mean, in the past you did not, though, right? That was at the school.
Oh, no. We've always been able to use it, except for
okay, good.
When they're rebuilding, when we used the catering truck from Middletown. So.
Okay.
That was years ago, Charlie.
Yeah.
I had hair back then.
That's true. That's
Charlie
the
Geitz, I think it's a little early to commit to something like this. You're going to be looking for product. I don't know many distributors are going to want to give up any product, even at cost at this point. I know I'd like to be able to there to support, but if accreditation is ramped up and we've got a ton of site visits with my flexible schedule, I know I'll be doing many. So I don't even know if I'm going to be around, but I would like to be able to help. I think that we ought to just keep it out and keep it open and let people know we're still thinking about doing it. But I would strongly urge us not to commit at this point.
But
I agree with you. I agree with Mike. I mean, getting the product is, I'm not sure if I'm going to go up to Cisco and say I need 400 steaks, unless business in the restaurants picks up a lot in the next, month or so that they can make up the difference. It's going to be. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we have to talk to ID and they might have to pay for something this year under these circumstances. I'm not sure yet. That's a conversation we need to have with ID. I don't know, when is our next board meeting? Coming up pretty soon, I think.
yeah,
This week.
it's like next week. So.
I think so. It's going. Yeah, they were
sure
supposed to let us know by PA Flavors too next week too.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
sure
so sorry about that. How about I go ahead, I'll send out in the newsletter, maybe even just a separate email with the recording tomorrow. If anyone's interested and can commit to helping with the golf outing, to email you, Chef Guy, if that's okay, just to head that up. I know I've heard from a couple people already that have said, yeah, I'll be willing to help. So that way you could get a clear list, a clear idea of, do we have those that are willing to help? And we can see if this is even something we can continue to do.
Yeah, I know there's a ton of variables, and I know that we might not be able to get, on a course, period. But if we do and they open it up, I mean, they've opened the courses up. I know that there are some golf outings already planned in some other places. I know Hershey is not doing that other than for members. But if it does open, I just want to have an answer for them that, and also a commitment from people so that I don't look like Twiggy at the end of the night.
I don't think you have to
I'll
worry
ask for that,
Yeah,
those
you'll be fine.
confirmations to be written to you. You have a clear list and a clear idea of how many are able to help.
You have the date, Chaz?
Yep, it's the third Monday.
Third Monday in October, right? Yeah.
Always is.
It will be on it is on our agenda, or on our minutes here, but I cannot, let me see if I can pull that up here. That is October 19th. And that is where we were talking about having the candy making with Susan there. However, again, I think all of these meetings are pretty much, tentative at this point, but that's a good point, and that way we can at least, get an idea for you of who would be willing to be involved. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, I've already got a site visit scheduled for that week. So I'm actually out, not even in.
You get to zoom in.
I could.
Okay, anyone else have any other old business for us to discuss? Okay, seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to new business. Does anyone have any new business?
I do. I wanted the chapter to know that, and I hope this isn't the only business that has to be brought up because it's not such good news. I took it under my consideration as Chef Educator of the Year for the Northeast. And we had a meeting about 2 weeks ago, and we were proposed of all the what our responsibilities are. And it required a virtual lesson, which was not the problem. It really wasn't. The difficulty thing is because I'm a secondary educator, the resources that would be needed just were not appropriate. And for me personally, because our industry is hurting so much, and it's not just the hospitality industry, but also the hospitality education, I could not see investing 3 weeks of time and energy into giving myself an award. So I took it upon myself and I asked to be removed as a candidate for that competition. And it was not easy because, I'm extremely competitive. But for me personally, it weighed really heavy on me. When people at the national office are being laid off and fired, our industry is being hurt the most financially out of all the industries. It made no sense for me to take resources, whether it's my financial resources, my personal resources, and most importantly, my time, to do something to glorify myself at this time, I felt is totally inappropriate. So I chose not to pursue and move on. And instead, I'm using my energy, as Michael knows, really focusing on things that are going to benefit our educational process. And that's digital credentialing, the F&B, expanding. I'm really working very hard to grow programs. I worked with North Carolina just 2 weeks ago and did a presentation to the Department of Education. So to me, that is where I should be, focusing my energy and efforts, promoting and helping our industry, not spending time and energy to give myself an award. And that's how I looked at it. So I hope my chapter will support me on my decision. I did talk to Chef Coral about it. I talked to my family, my wife about it, prayed heavily about it. And for me personally, it is not appropriate for me. Now, I'm not talking about any of the other candidates. I'm talking about myself and the area where we are right now, and just listening to us not being able to do the breakfast farm thing, not being able to do the taste, not being able to, the PA flavor, not being able to do, the golf outing. All these things that we're not able to do, I cannot justify me taking time and energy into creating a video to give myself an award. It just makes no sense. So I'm going to be spending my energy to hopefully better our industry and maybe make somebody else a little bit happier with the energies that I'm putting into, instead of focusing on myself. So that's that.
Thank you for sharing, Chef. I think that's very, very honorable, and thank you for letting us know. And I definitely support you as well as I'm sure our chapter does. Yes. And I believe I saw last year at the National Convention, it turned into a whole cooking demonstration and a show. I could only imagine how much time and effort and energy goes into that. So I completely understand.
They want an audio video crew, and they said you can do it on your phones, but they want 3 different angles. And I'm not a college. I don't have an audiovisual department, And, sure, you can hodgepodge it, but Autumn, I'm very much like you. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. And again, the more I think about it, it's more energy and more effort for what? What's the reason? For me to get another ribbon, for me to get another award? I think I have enough. And, I think the greatest award is the relationships that we get from our organization, not the medals that we receive. While they are very nice, I've received way beyond whatever I deserved. So it really doesn't, while it was a great honor, I mailed back my award to the ACF National Office. They did ask for it, and I did mail it back. And I don't know who is replacing me, but so I'm still the chapter's Chef Educator of the Year, and that to me is the greatest honor of all. So thank you all for your support.
Thank you, Chef. Does anybody else have any updates, any new business they'd like to share?
Please do. Let's have some happy news.
Who's opening back up and working?
I have something that I'm not sure if where it's going to fall, but they had sent something out about everyone getting a vote on the leadership award. Is that correct?
The Chef Professionalism Award, the LV Chef Professionalism Award should have gone out. It did go out a week and a half ago, and it starts with SM at ACF. It starts like SM as Survey Monkey. So some people, it may look as come through your junk mail, but the ballot went out a week and a half ago for the Chef Professionalism Award.
Okay, you have to check spam because they seem to go there.
Okay, I checked everything as well as I can check everything, and I did not receive one. So, Michael, if that's something you can do something about, that'd be lovely.
And I was going to see here quick if I could, like I said, it was SM, and then I think it said the ACF.
I was kind of hoping Barry would have stayed on. I called the office this morning, and they had no freaking clue what I was talking about. And actually, I don't know if this janitor picked up the line or what, but somebody answered, and they didn't have a clue what I was talking about. That they weren't sure if they thought that was called in the Fulton Fish Market. I said, no, call the ACF. Oh yeah, this is that. Okay.
Chef Barry did send me an email already and said that the Herman Roosh that I had mentioned, that was solely for the president to vote for, which I did. And then the chef professionalism does go out to everyone. This is, I can at least show what it looks like here for this was the email right here, sm@acfchefs.net via SurveyMonkey. That was the Herman Roosh, but the Chef Professionalism Award had that same title there. And I will, I guess, well, Michael, you said you could follow up then? Or is that something I can maybe just email Barry and ask to resend? Did anyone else get it?
I just want to know, did anybody else not get one?
I don't recall seeing one.
I got one. I voted.
I didn't get one.
Yeah, I got one.
So once I did the survey, it just told me that I have completed the survey. It does not show me the information anymore. It is unique because you have, you know, it's a ballot. So I cannot just forward you what I had originally. So I think I will just email Barry, reply to his email. Thank you for joining us. We had many members that said they did not receive that ballot. Could it please be resent?
Autumn, do you know the date of that? It was sent? I looked on there when you were doing it. I couldn't see a date.
For the, I wish I could put the, and see if that comes up, but I don't, I believe it was after I listened to the conference call, it was like the next day. So it was mid last week that it came.
So after Barry's call?
Yes.
Way after Barry's call.
Yeah.
Autumn, are you going to email him?
Yes, I will take care of emailing him and asking him, you know, that we have not had, we've had a lot of people that did not receive it and ask.
Michael, you did not receive it either?
I don't recall receiving one, but I just wanted you to note you had an issue. I've resolved it already.
Oh,
you man. And nice hair, by the way.
Thank you.
So just to recap, I'm scratching off my email to Barry about resending the ballot.
Now I've not resolved your issue.
Oh.
No, you send it, and if you don't get any response, please let me know.
Okay, I thought you just said you just resolved my issue.
I did by giving it to you to do.
Oh, I see. So Terry
He's
Wright
a Johnson and Wales
received one.
delegator. Did you say that?
So Terry Wright received one. So like I said, I think it's going into your spam or junk folders. So maybe, you know, check in and type SM@ACFchefs and see if something pops up. I'll ask them to resend, but it's still going to go to that same spot. And a lot of other people said they were having the same problem. So when I saw it, I thought, okay, great, this one went through. But I will follow up with that email, thanking Chef Barry, and asking him to have that resent out. Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other business for the good of the meeting? Okay.
All good.
I'm not seeing any, hearing any, seeing anyone reaching for the mute.
All good for me.
I just would like to end in saying that our next meeting will be July 20th. If you were looking at the agenda, there was a typo on the bottom. It is July 20th, the third Monday of each month, including July, at 7 o'clock via Zoom. And we are hoping again to have Chef Barry Crumlich give us a presentation on beekeeping, as well as their honey harvest. And there was a experience last year, and I know they made a video of it, and hopefully we can dabble a little bit on learning beekeeping. With that, that is all that I have for this evening, and I'd like to entertain a motion to conclude our meeting.
I make the motion,
Brian.
Jerry, second.
Thank you. All right, everybody have a great evening, and I will see you soon. Take
Good.
care.
Thank you, Chef. Everyone have a great night.
Take care.
Good
Great
night.
job, Chef Long.
Very much so.
Good job, Autumn. Thank you, Chef Long. Hi, Chef Kite.
Hey, Doogie.
Have a great evening.
Take care, everyone.
Be safe, everyone. Thank you.